Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about time zones and why do we even bother? Seriously, I mean, I understand back in, before, it was standardized in Canada and the U.S. adopted it in November 18th, 1883 to have time zones. I mean, it was a pain in the butt to go from west to east to a different town and change your time every time. So time zones were a way to kind of standardize something and make it make sense. But it only really makes sense if you do it along lines of longitude. And of course, throughout the past 30, 40 years or so, the entire concept of time zones has become a cluster and a half. Whenever humans try to simplify something, we do a really good job initially, and then we just take it and we just make it so ridiculously complex that it blows my mind. just we go right back to being more complex than the original complexity was that we tried to simplify. And that's what this is about. Why bother with time zones?
People are notorious for taking a simple concept to simplify something and making it extremely complex for some reason. I don't know why. But we're going to deal with the border throughout the Midwest between Central Time and Eastern Time. As you can see, there's Central from during Standard and Daylight. Here's Eastern, Standard, and Daylight. And Mountain I just put on there for reference. Now, as you can see here, this lovely part right here and right here, it used to be all Indiana was on Central Time, and now this is on Central, this is on Central, and as you can see, it's county-oriented for some ungodly known reason. You're going to see stuff fly across the screen, which is the history of this cluster here, and then you get up to the UP, and you get this here, where you get these four collar counties are on Central, like all of Wisconsin, and the rest of the UP is on Eastern. And now, as you can see, the line from here to here is quite a longitudinal distance. As a matter of fact, that distance is 205 miles. That's about the distance between these two longitudes at 42.5 degrees north, which would be the north border of Illinois. So for a 205-mile stretch, you have people here in Thunder Bay that are on Eastern Time, and then you have people down here in the southern tip of Indiana who are on Central Time. Why? This doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't understand this. So as you can see, just over these 2-degree difference, it's ridiculous, and it's all political. This is all due to politics and ridiculousness, and it's like, why even bother? I mean, it's 21st century. I mean, are we really that hung up on who's going to be on whose time? It just...
Okay, I've been focusing on Central Time and Eastern Time border, and the reason why I've been doing that is because, honestly, that's where I live, and it's a mess. And most of us hate daylight savings time anyway. We're tired of this clock flip. UTC doesn't do that. There's no need for it. You just don't do it. It's an archaic thing for no reason that somebody thought was a good idea 100-odd years ago, and it fails. But... it's not just that. I've been talking about the Midwest, but I'm going to talk about a special case here in a second. Somebody who's really, really taking this to the nth degree. Time zones also lead to other misconceptions people have too, and I didn't even think about this until I was talking to someone, and someone actually thought that people in England compared to us are in the future because of time zones, and people in say Los Angeles are in the past. No, that's not how it works. If it was, we wouldn't be able to talk to anyone behind us in the time zone because we can't communicate to the past. It doesn't make any sense, and it adds to confusion to people who can't think rationally, I guess. But it's just, there's no need for it in this day and age anymore. This psychological need to see the sun set at, say, 2200, which would be 10 o'clock in the middle of the summer, doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's just a number. Seriously, we're all on the same spinning ball together. It doesn't need to be that way anymore. Okay, so where I live, you've basically got Illinois and Wisconsin that are always on Central Time all the time, and everybody does the daylight savings time thing here, which is ridiculous. And then you've got the lower part of Michigan, the lower peninsula, which is on Eastern, and then you've got my favorite place, the UP, which is divided half and half, and then you've got Indiana, where I live, which is also divided in half and half. And as if that wasn't bad enough, you get the wonderful state here of Florida, who has even made this a bigger mess. The Sunshine Protection Act wants to move everything in Florida to Eastern Time. There are 10 counties, I guess, in the West that are on Central, which I also don't understand why. And they want to permanently move to Daylight Savings Time, which would essentially be the same thing as Atlantic Time. And this just doesn't make any sense to me. And I guess this passed the Florida legislature, but I mean, the federal government still has approved this or anything. And stuff. And there was a county in Florida that actually, one county, the northern half was one time zone, the southern half was another. Aren't these things supposed to be divided east and west? It just, this is such a mess. And people just, and then you know what? Even if this does pass and the federal government does approve it, I guarantee you 2-3 legislatures down the line, they're going to axe this. I mean, and it just needs to stop. And then, like, none of these politicians, never does it even cross their mind to at least get rid of daylight savings time. Here where I am, we're only on standard time for 4 months out of the year. The rest is daylight savings. What's the point? There isn't any. I mean, seriously, can't we all just UTC? But anyway, I think that's all I want to rant about today. But feel free to leave your opinions and comments below, or questions or anything. And now, on a more relaxing note, I'm going to show you the video that I made while I was making homemade chili. So just relax and watch it if you want. And anyway, have a good day.
It's time for me to make my inflammatory chili. Homemade, of course. Of course, when I say homemade, I mean using canned tomatoes, tomato paste, of course. It's almost time to add the beef. Stir it real good. There's the beef, everyone. Thanks for watching.